Hey, what's up? So funny enough, I was applying for UMD startups, so basically an incubator for startups or people who want to do startups in some technology or whatever. So I applied for that. But to apply, I had to update my portfolio, which I hadn't touched in like a month, 2 months, 3 months. And now I just realized I've actually done a bunch of projects this 2026. So I did a dynamic game compiler, which was really cool. That was for NextHacks. Then I did Nemo, which was basically for the NVIDIA GTC thing. Then I also did Mini World, which was for the ICLR Graham workshop. And then I just finished up Iron Miner, which was basically a second brain for construction superintendent. So it's kind of crazy how many projects I've been able to do within 2 months. All projects that far surpass, I was going to say supersede, but I don't know if that's a word, but surpass anything I've done over the past couple of years, which I think is really awesome. I remember my first hackathon. I built this tool with some friends, which was basically like it compares political candidates. So basically, if you do, if you go to a voting booth and you have no idea who the two people are, which is actually a very fair thing, because when you do go to vote, you basically like like the president and all that. But like when it comes to like the lesser known roles, then it's like a bit of a thing. But the idea of the tool was you basically get a quick summary about what they're about, and they scripts the web or it scripts official tools using APS, whatever it was. That was my first thing. Website looked terrible, wasn't that good, couldn't actually get all the components to work in the end. And now we're compared to stuff like Nemo. Nemo is like anchoring information in space. Very simple technology, but very useful. Or the Iron Miner, which is like a whole suite of technology from Gaussian splatting to video analysis to resource allocation. Like that was a really fun project, actually, like really, really fun. Or Mini World, which is basically like more like going to the core of like or more machine learning heavy stuff from autoencoders and stuff like that, and to build like a structured, which I guess a variation autoencoder does have like a structured continuously in space, but like to building that, like that's a really big shift. And even with the dynamic game compiler, which I think was one of like my most agentic projects I've done. I'm trying to see if that's true. I did VicRock and Quest. Quest was actually one of my favorite ones for agentic projects. Of course, basically pulls from a whole web of sources to kind of build you a personalized quest that meets your goals. Which I'm surprised it didn't win the hackathon. Was that even though I still think was the best project, but it was an NVIDIA hackathon, and they're really, really particular about building stuff that actually solve a problem, not something like introduces a new thing, which is a whole conversation. But I think that's a fair thing. But anyways, question's a really great one. But dynamic game compiler, that was a really fun project because like I was really saying, okay, this is not something I've seen before, right? So I'm going to use agents to in real time while you're playing a game to edit the game to your needs. So if I want a game that's a quiz, you can do that. But let's say I'm in a platform. I don't like the speed I'm moving at. I can change the game speed through the agent. I can change the game's mechanics like gravity or more complex mechanics through the game agent. Even though I couldn't scale up to as far as I wanted, I do think it's a really good proof of concept and a really great project. All this to say, like I'm saying the same thing, but all this to say, I've made a lot of progress over the last couple of months. I think that's a really amazing thing. Um, that being said, there's still a long way to go. I really want to work more in world models, and even though I can pitch Mini World as a world model, which is why it's called Mini World, I really want to do something more interactive, which is why the next thing on the horizon is a whole native world model game engine, which was actually what I was pitching in the startup show when they asked, like, "Hey, what's your idea?" I was like, "Okay, I really want to build a native world model game engine." I did a whole competitor analysis of like what the competitors are doing right now. A lot of people are going to video-based world models largely because, or I largely suspect, due to the experience in robotics and seeing that the fastest way to kind of scale to a more immersive experience is video. Like a lot of people do come from that background, and a lot of the literature does reflect that background. That's why I don't think 3D or 4D is as popular as video. There's a whole myriad of reasons. But anyways, that also one thing. And then when you look at long horizon worlds, 3D is the way to go. So that's why I was pitching my native world model game engine as. But I do admit that Google probably has a better route there. They actually even acquired Pixar's principal researcher for like their research division. They acquired him recently, and then they also have the whole DART paper, which I'm sure is going to be used to build a 3D world model. What I pitched was that I want to build my native world model game engine I want to build my native world model game engine to kind of be more of like a ruffian boat, like a boat that's barely afloat, that basically just generates 3D assets where the physics is the physics is inferred from the 3D assets. It's not generated together. So think I create a ball. This is getting really complex for no reason, but think I generate a ball or a remote. The physics is then generated after, not with. So you can imagine if you have like a VLM that basically figures out the physics, which would be a pretty good idea. Um, all that to say, that's what's on the horizon, right? Because I really, really want to make that next big step. But I think what's so encouraging, and thank God, really, is that when I look at my first projects, it's like such a big shift, and it wasn't easy. A lot of times, I have like a lot of projects that like fell through, didn't really go anywhere. Like I, I got there, I got to the point B from point A. Um, and it's exciting. It's very exciting. I'm not even thinking. I remember in high school, one of my first AI projects. I don't know if it was a local large language model or if it was an API, but it was basically called Bob, and it was the coolest thing ever that I built. Where it's like, I think it was an API, but basically I just called it an API. I was able to talk to like the AI from the API. I was like, dang, I'm like, I thought I was like an AI researcher. I was going to be like the next billion dollar company. Because I was calling the ChatGPT API, um but I've come a long way. I've come a long way. So very excited to see what I do next. Especially with this whole world model thing, with this whole native world model game engine. Besides that, I have nothing else to say. So have a great day.